around here at us, but you go back over there 2 blocks, you're not going to see any deer with so many antlers and all of that. So anyway, they was hitting to me to talk to him, because in those days, see, for about 30 years, we were just like this. We was just like this. In fact, we was like roommates almost. When we had a big conference, and those big rooms, the big double beds, and he'd have one and I'd have the other. We did that everywhere. I don't care whether it's Sri Lanka or wherever it was. Because they'd room people together sometime, the conferences to save money. And they would do it automatically. They would room us together. And it was helpful to me because I got a chance to check my Arabic, and I got a chance to check this. I remember when I was thinking about family, I was asking him, I said, because sometimes yuridu means to want. So I was asking him, is it a word called uridun? Wanters. I was asking about my family because I was just joking to myself. They always want something. I want this, I want that. So I was calling them to myself, uridun. Because Allah saying that uridu, Allah wants to do this for you. He wants to make your plate full, life happy, stuff like that. So I was calling my family uridun. It's a dual or plural, something like that. So I was just asking him, is it a word called uridu? He said, yes, it is. It sure is. So I was just laughing to myself. So I had a chance to study all the, man, it's a lot of good stuff that you get a chance to study. Not to stray from the subject, but we say, kad kamati salat, kamu, study kamu and its derivatives in the concordance of Quran. Kamu, it means not only to stand up, but it means to stand against. So it has some revolution in there, like Karaj, exit, Ukrijat Linas, raised up mankind, but also evolved mankind. And Kawarij, the people, plural for Karaj, they got so Islamic that they exited Islam. So they call them Kawarij because they went out of Islam. Anyway, let me get back to the point. The point is, sometimes you don't have a lot to do with the hand that you're dealt, but you have everything to do with how you play your hand. So the first thing is learning how to be a good player. If you're talking about this in the game of life, how to be a good player. And then, but what is the ethical point? Always play fair. Okay, let's say other people don't happen to, that's not going to be their number one rule. They number one rule is probably going to be to win, to get over, to get a better situation. But yours is not like that. No, I'm playing this fair. In order to play fair, in order to deal with ethics, morality, and character builders, you're going to have to be, you can't be like on the same level with everybody else because you're doing things that build your character. If you resist, that means that's like all of society pulling against you and you resisting they pull, right? Therefore, the gravitational pull of society is pulling against you, so you are developing a stronger base, a stronger resistance, right? That's what it is. Okay, I'll try to stay focused here, because in speaking a word that is straight, we want to bring the best out of people. we know how, after you get so much experience, you know how you're going to be treated. And you know what the behavior is going to be like. Example, when I was talking about using the IAC, that was a certain time, because even going overseas in other places, you know where people had them cards where they can go into the ambassador room at the airport, and where they got snacks, they got little things you can lay back on, you know. And so when we used to go overseas a lot, we would get the same flight, you know. And I didn't have one of those cards. So he would go to Desi. I like to bring, you know, a friend in. And I'd go on in, and we'd kick back. And, because some of the flights would be an 8-hour layover, 6-hour layover. And it's comfortable just to kick back, and you can tell the people, if I take a nap, my flight is at 5 o'clock. So if you could wake me at 4, you know, and I'll just zip on down and we'll be ready to go. So these things develop. Now, after 96, after Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui made his statements when he was in might as well call it Johannesburg, but it was outside of Johannesburg. But that's what they would call it, Johannesburg. Things started to change with everybody in that crew, okay? So Crescent started to change a little bit, right? Zafar Bangash began to change a little bit. Even after what Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui said, when they had his janazah in London, they invited somebody to come and do the prayer, but they didn't invite me, although, you know, I'm considered the best Sahaba. But see, other people might have been hiding up next to Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui, which I would almost say I'm sure of that. So they didn't respect him like I did, because they had a job. He was their target. He was their target, just like the Rahbar got people around him. He's the target. The foreign ministry are like, man, the longevity is a big deal. The foreign ministry are like, they really raising up in a lot of ways. And I would say they got the best foreign ministry out of, because them guys, between Iran, China, and a few more, they got classic, you know, because they've been studying this. Like they don't throw people away. Like when even President Ahmadinejad, he has a whole compound with a staff that he pays and directs. Why? Because he's on the Expediency Council to help expedite things that happen in the government, and also not to lose his years as president. He gained a lot of information and a lot of functionary characteristics. So they don't throw, like if you're a big shot, they don't throw you away and okay, you done lost, you go back to being a big thieving, lying lawyer or something like that, you know, or you served in the, no. Because they knew they had a deficit. It's the same thing in the military. Their people, they didn't really did a good job, but there are certain parts. When I talk about education, I'm talking about the ability to influence. So if you look at the foreign ministry, a lot of it is Western educated. And once they get into power, this is something, I'm not saying this by myself, Soleimani, that was martyred a year ago, he said the same thing. He said the same thing to the parliament and those people that I said to them. The exact same words he said to them, because I had some information. He said, no, man, he said exactly the same thing you did. You cannot be arguing with each other at this time. You can't have cliques. Oh, my clique is this and my clique is that. You'll become like Americans. He didn't say that, but I did, right? You'll become Democrats. You'll become Republicans. They got 2 or 3 Greens and people running around. And they fighting now down in Georgia in a couple of days to have a vote for them senators, right? So they all know if they get them couple of Senate seats, they got an opportunity to make some moves, because the Negro lady, the Indian, whatever she is, she can vote, in the Senate. The vice president breaks the tie in the Senate, okay? How could one team from the same country be so solid in their votes that out of 50 people, not one of them gonna come over to the other side, no matter what the proposal it is, right? That means that they're frozen, and they're not gonna allow each one of them, don't make no difference who gets in there. They're not gonna allow, we're not gonna, oh, no. Like one of those guys is always crying, one of those senators, supposed to be so emotional. He said, I ain't letting Obama do nothing. Ain't nothing going past me. And it's true. That's why I said, well, for a Negro, he didn't do too bad. I said, I thought they was going to just put him in there, blame everything on him, which they did, and then he was going to be a total failure. But he pulled off, the things he pulled off was the biggest thing in the show. You know what I mean? He was the enemy of the meanest man in the world, old Netanyahu, right? Netanyahu hated him. Netanyahu came over here to the Congress. I'll get back to the subject in a minute. And he got standing ovations, and it was all because it was against Obama. And they didn't want nothing that Obama wanted, especially that treaty, right, with the Iranians. Okay, now that don't mean that the people making it was so nice and good and all that. But the point is that the people that were sincere about Iran said, you cannot be divided amongst yourselves. You can't do that. And that's what clicks. Imam Khomeini disbanded the political parties, in Iran. So there's no different political parties. But you got these cliques, and if you don't, I heard some people told me that they hated certain other people because of their economic plan. Do you know, same thing right over there in the Daftar, same thing right over there. Who was over there? Western educated people, and they thought economy. We kissed these white folks behind. Okay. If you think I'm lying, look at what's happened over the last few years. All the big demonstrations with, who's we having all them demonstrations with? Answer, not only Answer, but Darl Hijra and all them people was in, they were all them people. Okay, what happened? You want to see on the news what happens, how do they get to have their people in all the alternative media and everything, right? How do they do that? Imagine if we was a standard American or even a revolutionary type activist, unless we had lived through that period and just sit right there and looked at it, right? And been directly involved. So when we see Brian Becker on RT You know, he's an expert on everything, right? His brother out there in California, KPFA, yeah, he's an expert on everything. Yesterday I was watching RT. Was that RT? It was RT. What's her name? Amy Martin or something? The girl Martin. Yeah, she's from out there, homegirl. She had a program and had a guy, an Iranian expert on there from here. He was saying exactly what we would have said. Yes, I was in Iran in 2017, and da, 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 da. Okay, so the Iranians brought him over there, and their people educated him. What he said in his book, this is a new book, Iran, something other. If you can look up Amy Martin on your thing, she had just an interview with this guy. And I listened to the interview and everything he said about, and then the interviewer was her. He wrote, she was, you know where they set up the questions? Hey, I said, man, look at here. And then when I think about RT, I think how I got on there at first. First, Naji was at the station over here. Naji knew an Egyptian woman. When she would come here, nice looking Egyptian lady, she'd have one of them Negroid looking, you know, what they have is wavy, not straight. I said, that girl could be colored. You know, not because she was healthy or nothing, but working over at RT. For a while, I'd go through RT like I was owning the place. I'd go, and then after a while, they cut it. Now we know that if America is going to hire Americans for a Russian television program, it's like Americans in Russia going to have a program. You think who they going to hire? Russians. And who they going to be? They going to be who they are. Same thing here. So you get a feel of how this is working out. So I looked at another thing that Amy Martin is, and Myra Van Houten. I think I mentioned her. Who is she? This is the same white girl that was talking to me over at Dar al-Hijra